Hi Minecrafters, it's Sassy Shortcake here, and today I've decided to take on the Madrigal family banners. So I've created a banner for each of the magical people, and of course Mirabel. So first up there is Mirabel's door, and these are the banners for the rest of the family. There's Abuela, Bruno, Julietta, Pepa, Luisa, Isabela, Antonio, Camilo, and of course Dolores. So first, and Mirabel's door again. First up, we're going to be making Abuela's candle. What we need for this is a magenta banner, 1 white die, 2 orange die, 1 yellow die, 2 magenta die, and 1 flower charged banner pattern. Now let's put our magenta banner in with our white die, and we're first going to choose a white pale, so the white stripe in the middle. Next up, we'll put in our orange die. We just need one of those for now, and we'll use our flower charge. Now remove the flower charge, put the yellow die, and choose a yellow round drill. Now we'll use our 2 magenta dies, and we need to go down to this diagonal per bend and the per bend sinister for those 2 dies. And there's our candle, and finally we're just going to add an orange gradient to this at the top, like that. And there is Abuela's candle. Next after Abuela's candle, we will be doing Bruno's hourglass. So we need a grey banner to start, 3 black die and 2 lime die. Put in our banner and put in our black die, and we need to choose the paley, it's called, the stripes. Next we'll choose the indented bordure, or bordure indented, and let's put in our lime die. What we need to choose next is the chevron. Then we'll put in our inverted chevron, and finally we finish this off with a black bordure just around the edge to clean it up a little. And there is Bruno's hourglass. Now we have Julietta's bowl of food, since that's her power to heal with food. So we need a light grey banner, 2 brown die, 3 cyan die, and 1 white die. So put in our banner, light grey. Then we'll put in our brown die, and we want to do this diagonal stripe, so that is a brown bend sinister. Now we need to take out our brown die and add in cyan. We're going to do the cross, or the saltire it's called, the X shape. Take out our cyan and add in our white, and now we need to do the white round drill, so the circle in the middle. Now add in our brown die again, and we need to choose the bottom half of the banner, so the per-fess inverted. So we make the entire bottom half brown now. Now finally put in our last 2 pieces of cyan die, and we're going to do the bordure indented, and then finish it off with, we need the 1/3 of the bottom of the banner, so that's this one, which is called a base, cyan base. And there we have Julietta's. Next up, we have Pepa's. Oh, let's take a look at it. Yes, so we've got a rain cloud with kind of lightning and wind. So for that, we need a light blue banner, 1 light grey die, 1 orange die, and 4 grey die, as well as a skull charge pattern. Put in our light blue banner, and then we will be putting in our orange die. And we're just going to make a gradient with this. It's the top gradient. It's just called gradient. So next up, we need to put in our grey die. And we choose this, which is called paley, the stripes. Then we want to do the field masoned, which kind of looks like a brick pattern. Then we need to put in our skull charge, and this just breaks it up a bit, I guess. So now we need to put in our banner back in, take out our grey die, put in our light grey die, remove that skull because we only need 1, and then we need to come up and we need to put in this, just the top third of the banner. So this is called grey chief, or chief. And finally we put in our grey die again, and we use the bordure indented. And there we have Pepa's banner. So we've got Abuela and her 3 children, and now we need to do their children. So we're going to start off with Pepa's children. We have Antonio, Camilo, and Dolores. So here is Antonio, the youngest Madrigal. We're going to take a yellow banner, 2 black dye, an orange dye, a brown dye, and 1 globe charge. So let's put in our yellow banner. Then we'll be putting in our globe charge along with our brown dye. Our black dye. And we want to make that kind of globe shape. And then we're going to take out the globe charge and the black dye because we need to do an orange gradient over the top. Just like that, an orange gradient. And that just kind of softens the color a little. Next, we're going to put in our brown dye, and we need to choose this brown field masoned. Finally, we finish it off with our black dye, and we use this Borgia indented. And that's it's meant to look like a cheetah pattern, since that's Antonio's pet. Or his power is to talk to animals. So there we go, a cheetah print. Next up is Camilo, and we're going to do his poncho shape. So we've got an orange banner, 1 red dye, 1 orange dye, 3 yellow dye, and 1 flower charge pattern. I accidentally put 2 orange dye in here, but you only need 1. Now put in your banner, your red dye, and your flower charge, and then we take the flower charge out again. Now we need to put in our orange dye, and we use this stripe straight down the middle, which is called pale. So orange pale, stripe straight down the middle, like that. Now take out that extra dye if you accidentally grab 2, like me, and put in our yellow dye. Now we want to choose this many stripes, which is called palee. So then we need to come down to the bottom and choose this Borgia indented. And finally, we just want to put a fade on the pattern kind of. So we're going to come across and choose this gradient. And there you have it, Camilo's poncho. That's what it's called. Now we need to do Dolores's. So this is kind of taking after her hair and her bow. So come over, take 1 brown banner, 3 red dye, 3 brown dye, and 1 skull charge. Put in your brown banner and your red dye. Now choose a pale dexter, which is this red stripe on the left. Then we need to do a pale sinister, which is the stripe on the other side to that. Switch out to your brown dye and choose this line in the middle, which is called a fess. And we've basically got this cross shape in the middle, but it's a bit thicker than if you choose the cross pattern. Now we'll use our brown dye and put base, so that's 1/3 of the bottom banner is brown dye. Now we'll choose our red dye and choose our skull charge again. Put our brown dye in and take out the skull charge, and we need to find down the bottom the top half of the banner, and that is a per fess. And there we have it, that is Dolores's banner. Now we need to do the 3 final Madrigal sister banners. So we've got Luisa, Isabela, and back here is Mirabel. We're going to do the door for Mirabel. So take a cyan banner, 1 brown dye, 3 cyan dye, 2 black dye, and 1 globe charge. Put in our banner, put in our brown dye, and we'll start off by using that globe charge. Then we need to put in our cyan dye and choose, where is it? Down the bottom here, our per fest inverted. Then we need to switch out to our black dye and we choose the cross. So not the X, the cross, which is called cross. Now switch our black dye to cyan and we're just going to choose that cross again. Now switch them over again, so black dye, and we'll do the Borgia. And finally finish off with a cyan Borgia. So there we go. We have the Mirabel's door, or Casita's door really. And next up is Luisa. We've got some dumbbells for her because she's very strong, and we've kind of got her purple and red colouring. Now you could change this colour too. I kind of like it in blue and red also. Now here's a purple banner, add in your white dye, and we just need to choose this down the bottom, the Borgia first. just the white border. And then we keep our white die in there and choose the round rule. Now let's put in our purple die, and we need to go up the top and choose our inverted chevron. Then we'll choose the paley, and then we'll go our regular chevron. Finally, we just need to finish it off with a red border. You could just make that purple as well if you don't want the border, but I like it like this. Finally, we have Isabella's, and we've got this beautiful purple flower for hers. So we need a white banner, a lime die, a green die, 2 white die, 1 purple die, 1 magenta die, and 1 flower charge. Now go ahead and put in your white banner, and we're going to start off with our lime die as well. We're going to choose the paley. Then we will put in our green die, and we need to choose the X or the saltire. So this right here, this X shape. Now we need to put in our white die. And scroll down here, do this border indented. So we've got this kind of shape. Now switch out our white die with our purple die. And we need to choose, not the round rule, we need to choose the lozenge, the diamond shape. Just like that. Now we want to add in our white die, and we also need to add in our flower charge. So use your flower charge, and then leave that flower charge in there, and add your magenta die. And that is it. It is complete. And there we have it. We have all of our Madrigal family banners. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this banner video, please like and subscribe to Boss Family Plays, and I'll see you on my next adventure. Goodbye!